right. Good evening, everybody. Give me just 1 second here and we will get started. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 39 of my GEMP game review series. I am your host, Chris Gogolen. GEMP is right about to do a server reboot. Just waiting on this game here to finish up between Batmouse and. Yeah, I don't know what that's supposed to spell. We'll pop in real fast, see how this game's. If it's about to conclude or not. Oh, friendly reminder while we're doing all this, if you are not already following the Players Committee, make sure you hit that purple little heart and follow us. So that way you get all of our updates and know when we're doing live streaming and chat like that. Also, if you have a Twitch Prime account, you get one free subscription each month. You do have to renew it each month. So don't forget to hit the purple button next to it that says subscribe. We are finalizing the details for the, you know, uh, subscription prizes that will be given out. But obviously we want everyone to start following along with us now. So, and it looks like Batmouse wins this game and picks it up. Looks like he had the board pretty well covered here. With Black Sun, it was doing some good ping damage. So, yeah, Batmouse, you had 20 viewers because we're all waiting for you to finish so they can reboot the GEMP server here. While we are waiting for them to push the buttons and stuff like that and get the reboot going, let's pop over to the changelog on the PC forums and you can see what new stuff is going to be added here. So we're going to get the new hyperdrive objective. Boshek is going to be added. That'll be a nice boost for a couple of decks, especially Watch Your Step, getting another character. We got a couple other cards here: Part of the Tribe, Macro Scan, and Dark Hours. Fixing a couple of bugs. Also more important, Radis now matching pilot for Rogue One. And this one is a big one. Ancient Wuthering Hole will now no longer crash a game if you're not playing Agents of the Court. Something in that, the way Ancient Wuthering Hole was written, since part of it references a rep, it was always looking for a rep. And if you weren't playing Agents in the Court, then you don't have a rep, and therefore it would hard crash your game. So they have figured out how to fix that bug. And that'll be part of the reboot that's coming up here in just a minute. You also have a couple of other ones: Green Leader and Green Squadron 1, Plo Koon, and fixing the name of the Death Star reactor terminal card that was just released. So while they reboot the GEMP server and get that up and running, hopefully, there you go. All right, so Hyvie's hitting the reboot button now. So we'll talk about a few other things in the meantime. And then I'm sure the GEMP server will be restarted, and then people can start finding if these fixes worked and what else we've got going on. In the meantime, we'll talk about, of course, the 2019 Online Championship Series. Off and running. There's been a lot of people have already finished all 12 of their games. We'll circle back to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, we had 81 people playing with the season pass, another 5 or 6 who just bought the February only registration, and I think like 45 people have already played like 10 or more games, which is absolutely awesome. And very excited to see what the foil is for February. We'll get them for a couple of weeks. And then they don't get mailed out right away, so I know you guys were looking forward to getting your foils right away. But to, cut down on costs for the PC, they usually get packaged up together. So February's will probably get lumped in with March's. I won't have them until the end of March, and then I'll get March in the early April. Anyone coming to the MPC will probably get both at the match play event, which is at the end of April. If there are any other tournaments in between, any regionals or anything like that, they might get sent out there. And you'll start to get them probably in early April, when the first wave of foils will start to come out. And then April and May will probably get lumped together as well, usually to try and combine 2 months together. If I happen to see you before then, there's an event beforehand where I can, check off 7 or 8 people at the same time. That'll be great, and we'll send them all out together and cut down on that, and that'll cut down on some of the delay. But we'll definitely want to get everybody their foils as quickly as possible. But we also need to make sure we take into consideration all of the mailing and shipping costs and that kind of stuff too. But I mean, 81 people, and I'm probably going to send out like 100 plus foils between the people who are playing the 8 games and getting 1 foil, and the people who've played 12 games and are going to get 2 copies of the foil. I think there's probably already like 25 people who are done. They've played all 12 games and they're done already, which is pretty incredible. So I also mentioned the Match Play Championship. All the information can be found here on the forums. We're up to 28 registered players, so we're almost halfway full. There was a little pre-registration bonus that just expired where you got $5 off and some other things. Unfortunately, there was an issue with the hotel. The hotel the event is in is running several other events, and they are now booked full on Saturday. There's still a couple rooms left for Friday night, but there is some information in this thread about 2 other nearby hotels. Um, it's information we wish we had known when we booked our event, but unfortunately that did not work out as planned. And so there are some nearby other accommodations. One's like a 3 block, 4 block walk away. Basically, when you leave the hotel and you walk to get the food, you walk 2 blocks past all that stuff, and there's the other hotel. So basically, to get to the event, you just do it in reverse. You pick up food on the way, go to the event, and then on your way back to your hotel, pick up some more food, and you pass a couple bars and stuff in between. So you're really just on the opposite side of everything. It's not too bad of a walk to that hotel. It's a brand new one. It's been up about 3 or 4 years. It used to be a like old historic building in downtown New Brunswick that they finally knocked down, 5 or 6 years ago, and put this hotel in its place as part of the revitalization process of the whole city. Um, but that event's coming up just over 2 months away. Registration for that does close the March 31st. So if you are thinking about going, you have to be registered by then because we need time to do the brackets. For anybody who's never played in the Match Play Championship event before, think of that NCAA March Madness tournament that you might have heard about. It's kind of the same thing, but with Star Wars. People sign up, people rank them accordingly. We create brackets. We try and keep teammates apart too, so that tends to push people up or down a little bit and move people around. So that way you're not playing against your friends in the first couple of rounds, because who wants to play test against people and then get paired and eliminate each other? That kind of sucks. So we try to avoid that. If you do get eliminated in the first round, there's a second bracket that you move into, so you guarantee to play at least 4 games in the match play format. And then there's other regular Swiss tournaments on Sunday and stuff as well. So if you have never been, this is a great event to come to. It's one of the most fun events all year. Very easy to get to. Fly into Newark Airport, take the train, get off the train in New Brunswick, and walk like 3 blocks, and you're at the hotel. Or walk 5 blocks, and you're at the other hotel. So, is he done yet? Can we reboot? Yay, it's rebooted. Woohoo! Awesome. So, now we can pop in and check out our OCS stats. So, our Rebel Spy and Chris Kelly still sitting in the same 2 spots, although Rebel Spy's win percentage has gone up a little bit. Bunch of people here at 10-2 who had great months, but you look at all the people who've in double digits in terms of games played, and that's absolutely awesome. There's 45 people here, and only like 4 or 5 of them have played single digit number of games, and all of them seem to have already, with the exception of like Hayes and Plagueis, have hit the requirement to get at least 1 foil. And then you come over here, and there's a couple other guys who have played 8, played 12, played all 12 games, played 10 games already. So certainly going to be lots of foils to send out this year, and very excited about that. But yeah, you see the change log was updated, and some great new cards were just added. So hopefully, see how the new hyperdrive and stuff works out. And it looks like there'll be a couple games going on here. But before we check out what's going on in the current environment, let's close some of these windows. Let's check out a game review that happened just a couple nights ago. This was I believe this may have been an OCS game between, we'll find out in a second. Oh, there's no timers, haha. I would say when we see the timers, but there are no timers on replays. This was a game between Wend and Aeneas that a lot of people seem to be watching and we're talking about in the mini game report. And some people kind of requested, they thought it'd be a good, fun review for my show. So I got the review link from Aeneas, so we'll be looking from his point of view, from the HITCO side, against the Hunt Down Epic Dueling side. Dueling is something we don't see a lot of. Um, Certainly always a very interesting mechanic, very lopsided mechanic, has a way to skew games pretty easily. Darkside commits a number of cards to the ability to duel. Woo, queso, 5 months, awesome. Thank you for subscribing. See, it's just that easy. You just click that purple button that says subscribe, and bam, presto. If you go to your own dashboard, there's a button that says subscriptions. You can find out when your subscription has to be renewed, and then you can just sort of set a reminder for yourself on your phone or whatever like that. Just or a calendar or Google app or whatever that you can use to just set yourself a little reminder to hey, let me renew my subscription on the PC Twitch page. So. But as I mentioned, dueling has always been a little lopsided because you're putting Luke or Obi or Vader out of play. Losing a duel when you're playing Hunt Down Dueling can be catastrophic. And Epic Dueling causes a certain amount of force loss when you do it. So Circle is now complete, or Vader's Obsession. Initiate the duel. So Vader's with Luke or Vader's with Obi. You play the corresponding card and you start a duel. Draw 2 Destiny. You add 1 to each draw if you have a lightsaber. Then you add your ability. If Vader loses, place him out of play, and you lose 6 or 9. If Obi loses, put him out of play. They lose 9. If Luke loses, then you get the options here. You can cross him to the dark side, and you lose equal to his ability. Or you lose Luke and lose triple his ability. So most Lukes who will be on the ground will be either ability 5 or ability 6. So it's lose 6 and Luke, and he becomes a dark side character. Son of Vader, I believe, would be his new persona name. Or you keep Luke, lose him off the table, so you could then potentially redeploy him, because he doesn't go out of play, he just lost. But then you lose 15 or 18 force, at which point in time you probably don't have enough to redeploy him anyway, so... certainly can be a game-breaking mechanic. Problem is if you happen to play against a deck that, like Old Allies, that doesn't have either of those characters, well, you have 7 dead cards in your deck, and you're just sitting there going, well, at least the dueling cards are 6s, Vader's Obsession and Circle. They're 6s, which aren't bad to draw for Destiny, but if you're playing something else, Epic Duel is now a dead card. If you're playing something like Focused Attack to add a Destiny draw, which you probably want to do, to kind of make sure you win. You might be playing 1 or 2 of those. So then you got some other dead cards that are lower Destiny floating through your deck. But we're going to see it's a Hunt Down Epic Duel 12 card start being played here by Wend. Very thematic. He builds very thematic decks. You don't see a lot of Episode 1 cards and characters mixed in with Episode 7 stuff. He's very much a very timeline-oriented individual. And then Aeneas is going to play a very standard HITCO deck, looks like Walkling, Like My Father, and Insurrection Aim High. Now, the HITCO objective only protects against Luke being captured by Bring Him Before Me. There's nothing in here that helps this particular objective as it relates to dueling. There are a couple of interrupts that probably will be playing, though, that do help with dueling. A Jedi's Resilience and a Jedi's Concentration both have secondary game text. It's not usually used all that often, but they do have text specifically related to duels that can certainly make the difference. The other card that you'll see a lot of times in dueling decks, especially sometimes decks that are really focused on doing the damage from the dueling, even like Bring Him Before Me, they run the non-V version of Sith Fury. I think I was talking about that on Saturday when I was streaming a couple games. And we caught a Bring Him Before Me deck, and he was running the non-virtual Sith Fury, which causes a separate little side bet. And, if the person who wins that little side bet then wins the duel, the opponent loses 6 extra force. So it can be very swingy with some of these things. Let's see what we got going on here. So light side's just going to get their activation with Wisa. Dark side gets to go first. They only get 5, so they don't have enough to deploy Vader turn 1. we will get the security tower, Vane. Vane's going to protect Visage, which is pretty standard for hunt down decks. Can be a little risky. Light side does run several spies, but a spy plus a EPP or something like that could be an early game force swing. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Gets the Vader's castle out. Surface defense for Crush. Crush is always a good one. Lets you get I Have You Now or Evader Monarch. And then Vane, of course, gets to activate a force on your turn. So he basically deploys for free because it's -3 to a site with Vader, and then activate a force during your turn. So the one you spent, you get back. So turn 1, he's basically a nice free character who then pulls you a 2/0, and he's a Destiny 3. So Vane is a very, very well balanced card for hunt down. And Aeneas will do his standard setup. Oh, when top decked, I Am Your Father. He's probably playing 2 or 3 of those, though, in a 12-card start because they are 6s. And he chose to get Crush instead of it, so that certainly makes things a little different. And Aeneas top decked Orlando Scoundrel. Oh, he did happen to pick up the 2 cards I mentioned, so we're going to pause real quick and look at his hand. So you've got a Jedi's Resilience. Most people use the if you just lost a character armed with a lightsaber, take them back into hand part, but this whole big first part all relates to dueling. If you just lost a duel opponent initiated, before the duel has any result, you lose a force to cancel the duel, and then your opponent gets the interrupt back into their hand. Now, I think Vader's Obsession, one of them isn't unique. Vader's Obsession might be Circle, I don't think was unique. So you have to grab it before you play the Jedi's Resilience. Otherwise, they just go back to their hand and they just redo the duel. Unless, of course, you want them to duel you the second time because, you've tracked your destinies and their destinies better. So you draw the destinies, complete the duel, and then it's like, haha, you lose 6. And it's like, no. Cancel it and let's do it again. Or let's just not do it again because you grabbed the interrupt. Maul Strikes, you're right, Dorsch, is non-unique, but Maul Strikes would put your hunt down objective out of play because you're initiating a non-epic duel. So a lot of people don't really like doing that in hunt down dueling. The other card here is a Jedi's Concentration. Most people, again, use the used part. Initiated characters can't be targeted by lightsabers, but lost, if opponent just initiated a duel, they must choose to lose 4 force or cancel it. They don't get the interrupt back with this one. They just have to, it's like, all right, you play that circle to initiate the duel. It's like, well, lose 4 or this is not happening. So you certainly do have some options and ways to work around the big dueling swings. And we'll see how this game plays out. Okay, so we did have another I Am Your Father, which is why usually the deck runs 2 or 3 of them. And there is only one battleground on the table. That would be the Ewok Village. So Vader's going to go to the castle. Imperial Domination. Alright, so he's running only Imperials in this deck. So we will not be seeing EPP Mauls or Maul Strikes and that kind of stuff, which, again, like I mentioned, Mr. Wend here does build very thematic decks. So having a deck that included Vader and Maul, he probably would not go for. Although, Maul does show up in Rebels, right? At which point in time Vader is Vader. Because Vader's hunting people down in that show with the Inquisitors, right? So I guess there's a little bit of overlap. Light side only activating 10. Looks like they're going to... Now, they do get to initiate battles for free, so they could go... he could have just thrown Jin down and just tried to, just block the drain for a turn or 2. Got another little more activation, drawn another card or 2. The other possibility was to go Obi and Rey and get 2 swings at Vader. But he's going to go a different route. He's going to play a Jedi's Concentration. Oh, So he's going to play a Jedi's Concentration to prevent lightsaber swings, so neither character can swing in this situation. And in countering that, Wend is going to play You Are Beaten to exclude Obi-Wan from the battle. So Obi's going to get excluded, and that's probably why we saw the weapons display shield get pulled. That should trigger now and cause 2 force loss, and it does. But now you've got Vader sitting here against Hera. They both do get to draw Destiny because Hera draws, she adds 1 with an Imperial. But it's only a 5, and Vader's immune to less than 6. So it's going to get off the hook here. It's not terrible because at least she does still get the draw. And he did concentrate to cancel the lightsaber swings. If Obi had gotten You Are Beaten, before the battle, shall we say, and then Hera was just kind of stuck there by herself, that could have been disastrous. Oh, but he did win the battle, so Imperial Domination will kick in, give him the option to retrieve an Imperial. He lost Yasain Asard as one of his Visage damage cards earlier, so he gets that character back as well. Oh, Bats, you lost sound? I'm sorry. All right. So Wend You Are Beaten. So he can't battle Obi until the end of his next turn, being this turn. So, he can sniper him though. He force push, and looks like he may have picked up the sniper with the force push with a small 3-card hand. And Aeneas is going to use dodge to subtract 3 from each. Vader adds 1 to each, so basically they're all -2. So that's a 3. He's going to need to draw a 6 here, or a 7. And it's a 1. Does he have a Sith Fury? Nope, no Sith Fury. So that's gonna whiff. And now you can't battle Vader. Might be a good time to reload your hand a little bit. Ooh, the Grand Inquisitor. Just like in the movies or the cartoons. So the Grand Inquisitor, Jedi or Padawan just lost from same site. Opponent loses a force. If a Jedi or Padawan just moved from here, the Inquisitor can follow. Okay, so it's an extra 1 force loss, but it's also an extra 5 power, which is pretty cool. And then he's going to draw quite a few cards here. It's always dangerous to do any type of blind dueling in these types of scenarios because of, a HITCO deck, a throne room deck. They have a lot of high destiny interrupts and characters themselves. So the without something like focused attack, where you're getting 3 destiny to their 2, that makes it a much more risky proposition. Oh, and we're going to get a Princess Leia. Princess Leia V adds a battle destiny when she's with Han or Vader. So Obi will swing at the Inquisitor. I'm sure we'll see Vader swing at Leia. Ooh, ouch. 2 1s. That's rather unfortunate. That's the kind of thing where you'd be ecstatic to duel your opponent and have them draw that for destiny. But even just drawing for weapon destiny and missing the Inquisitor certainly changes things quite a bit. Now it's fairly likely that Darkseid will at least have 1 character left at this site after this battle's over. Meanwhile, Leia just got cut to shreds. He's going to take the Emperor into hand to give him another character. That's the other thing that Domination lets you do. One of the drawbacks is you can only play Imperials. You can't even play droids or anything like that. But if you win a battle, you get to retrieve an Imperial, and once per battle, basically, you can take an Imperial just drawn for Destiny into hand to cancel and redraw it. So kind of like a mini Sith Fury. I am your father causes 1 force loss when Vader hits a character, so he loses the Hujix from the used pile. Aeneas draws Yoda, Master of the Force. It's a card that sometimes you see, sometimes you don't. People like to go camp out at the light side's Jedi Council chamber. So, some people really like to have a Yoda, a card that they can easily pull to then go battle their Probot or, whatever spy, Ice Heart or whoever random spy they found to just go sit there. Uh, but light side does win a battle, so they will get to stack a card. And they had a total battle destiny of 9 with their 2 draws. And I think Vader only forfeits. Vader only forfeits for 8. So unfortunately, this looks like it's going to be a full site clear. But the Grand Inquisitor will kick in and do the 1 force loss. And Aeneas passes on using a Jedi's resilience to get Obi back into hand, and instead will save that for a rainy day. Does draw a whole bunch of cards. Still haven't found a Luke yet. That's got to be frustrating when you play 4 or 5 copies in the deck to draw like 8 cards and not see one. You didn't get one in your opening hand. You just drew 7 or 8 cards and you still didn't get one. That certainly has to be frustrating. Yeah, that would make the most sense, Chris, is that he's saving the Jedi's resilience for the duel. It's a smart play. Some people would be like, no, I need to get Obi. Other people would be like, but Obi's not really very good if Obi gets dueled off the table now, is he? And Wend is going to use this opportunity to squeeze the Emperor out, get a little of his activation back. Emperor adding an icon himself, plus getting an extra icon on the Holo Theater. And Aeneas tosses Clash of Sabers. That's interesting. That's a card I would have... Well, Crush is out, never mind. I was going to say I thought that'd be a card he'd want to keep, but never mind. Crush the Rebellion is out, and that card has very little value as a result. Ooh. Now we're going to get a Rey solo action. These guys are just throwing everybody in the meat grinder, just going right after this Ewok village here. We have not had we're on turn 4. We haven't had a forced drain yet. Hey, there's a Luke. It's a good old-fashioned slobber knocker, as my friend Jim Ross would say. Emperor's going to get cut down. Coward's going to stop the force retrieval from Rey's lightsaber. Now we're going to get a Force Lightning Lost, trying to pick off Solo. And Solo's going to go away. That'll take away 4 power and that second battle destiny. So that should keep things a bit closer. Wend may not take more than 1 or 2 overflow. Well, when you can't find Lukes to put in your hand, at least you can draw them for Battle Destiny, right? So I stand corrected. Wend may... he's going to take a little overflow. He's going to take 3. That's not bad. And he's going to stack a card, too, for losing a battle. So really, he's going to lose 4. Yeah, right? It's always those fun interactive games where you both just keep throwing haymakers at each other, rock'em sock'em robots or whatever, hungry hippos. You're just going at it. And there we do see the resilience being played this time around to get Rey back. Does not get grabbed, curiously enough. So I guess we're going to expect, and both these guys have huge loss piles already because they're just full of characters and stuff because they've just been battling each other so intensely. They both have 17 and 19 cards respectively in their loss piles between the visage damage, one a turn on both sides, and the battle damage and whatnot. Now he's got a second grabber as well. Having two grabbers is great. It's even better when you actually grab something with the first time. So certainly going to be a close game here. I haven't seen really like any misplays or anything like that by both players. They're both playing pretty clean. You know, taking advantages of things like using a force lightning after you've been hit and you know you're going to die, and trying to squeeze out multiple battle destinies in different situations with Ray and Solo or Obi and Hera. Um, oh, looks like he's finally going to go try and pick off. No, this is a curious move. Because Lightside's going to have to lose first. So they're going to have to lose Jin. Darkside would have to lose Vane. And there's not an opportunity here where Visage would be cancelled. Because she has no immunity. I mean, yes, it does get him to stack another card, and he will take a little bit of overflow in this situation. Maybe he really just wanted to get a look at his opponent's hand, which is the other thing that Jin lets you do when she leaves the table. So we got a peek at the hand, and he kicks to save the additional 2 force loss. Kind of running thin on cards here, down to 14, so if I see an Anakin Skywalker in this deck, I probably would lose my mind. I really haven't seen anyone playing that in HITCO. You do have the option, to retrieve it with Prophecy here. Once per game, retrieve a card with Anakin in title. So, if you were to lose it at some point in the game, you could retrieve it. But I don't really think I've seen anybody pull that off just yet. All right, and Wend's going to get... So he gets Tarkin's Bounty out, gets to look at the top card of his reserve deck. This is a nice little combo here with Janice, because Tarkin's Bounty, once per turn, if it's on Tarkin, you can peek at the top card of any reserve deck. So you look at the top card of your reserve deck, and if you like the card, you can then swap a card from hand with Janice's game text and draw it. And then this also lets you help you set up your tracking. So if you know what card you put, because Janice's card goes on the bottom of a used pile. So if you happen to know what card you put on the bottom, and then just kind of activate to the card above it, and then peek with Tarkin's Bounty, now you know what your 2 destiny are. So now you know if you should initiate the duel or not. And now we've got Vader's back again. And Vader's got a pile of friends. He's going to lose and I have you now to get Vader his lightsaber back, but that's 17 power, 2 battle destiny, and a lightsaber. It's not going to be the easiest thing to get through here for Aeneas. He does have a very large hand, but he's only activating 10. He's got a nice big pile of high destinies in there, though, left at this point. But it's kind of in one of those situations. He's already burned his Hujix. It's already in the lost pile. So he couldn't even try, just throw Obi Ray down and just go for the battle and try and clear some of these characters. and there isn't another location on the table. Um, Light side got rid of their battle planes, and dark side has not put out their cloud side, the downtown plaza, the other site that they could pull. Wow. Okay, that's a reserve deck full of Jedi Lukes. So we're gonna get a Luke. Luke can drop a card from hand. And they're both going to play their corresponding weapon levitation shields, because the worst thing that could happen to you in this situation is probably getting your lightsaber stolen. Yeah, and he's going to go for Rey here. This is, only getting 10 force all game has really kind of hamstrung Aeneas a little bit. Not having the ability to, get out more than one or two characters at a time. Like if he could have dropped Padme into this group with them and then had enough cards left to draw, that would have been a very different battle, of course, than what we're seeing here. Now, obviously, with the pile of good destinies that he has in there, he knows he can hit anybody he wants, and Wend does not appear to have a force field to block that. So Vader's going to get hit. I would assume the Emperor's going to get hit by the other lightsaber. Tarkin will add a battle destiny. Vader will probably take a swing at Luke. He used Janice to draw the card. I don't know if he's tracking around or not. That's a curious play, obviously, to do that then. And the Emperor gets hit. And that should be another 6 left. He's going to draw for Battle Destiny, which will become a 7, which will clear everything. Very fortunate that he didn't draw the 6s and have the 4 left. Otherwise, Janice would have covered and Tarkin would have got to live. But short of something like a Dark Time subtracting 1, we're going to see Darkside get completely cleared off this site. And Rey just got hit there, and I guess Darkside's counting on being able to draw 2 Battle Destiny here to get Luke. Luke's only immune to less than 6 because he's not alone. So that seems reasonable. He's going to take Kyrkanos into hand and redraw that. So Wend picking up a couple of characters and getting a couple of high destiny draws himself out of this. So he's going to win the battle. It'll be a full clear. There'll be no overflow on either side. And he's got aim high out, so he doesn't have a force left with which to retrieve a guy. Now it's going to be like, well, who's got any characters left? Well, we know Lightside's got a pile of Jedi Lukes still in the deck. And as you can see in hand, they've got Obi, Padme, and that pesky Jar Jar. Jar Jar with a bunch of tracked 6s could certainly clear, have a pretty good chance of clearance a mid-level character like a Tarkin or a Kyrkanos. And he's going to play the Resilience again. Resilience number 2, still not grabbed. To get Rey back. That could possibly be the difference maker here, not grabbing Resilience. I don't know what he was saving that grabber for. Maybe he's saving it for a Jedi's concentration. Now we're down to visage damage here. Light side's ahead on life force, 15 to 9. So visage will certainly be able to bleed everybody out. We get one more Vader with Akir Kanos. Light side's going to shuffle around all those high destinies, although most of what's left in there are all 4, 5s, and 6s. Pause for a second. Let's catch up on some chat, see what we got going on here. Lenny asks, why not gin the village and then start putting dudes at the battle planes? Yeah, that certainly would have made sense. He had already burned the Force Lightning, as Chris points out, so if he was worried about a second Force Lightning, which is fairly likely to be in the deck, Jin would have gotten zapped pretty easily in a high destiny deck like this, and then it just becomes kind of a drain race. I don't know if Aeneas is also familiar enough with Wend's deck building style to know that there probably isn't Maul in this deck, because I don't know if Domination had been out at that point. Maybe it was. Maybe it was already on the table, and then he would know that Maul's not coming. Forget exactly where the timing was between when he lost the battle planes and yeah, but obviously we know Darkseid had already lost the Ellis, and they can't Ellis really effectively with the Insurrection combo out. So hanging on to that second battleground certainly could have worked out differently. But again, Lightside's still ahead at this point, so obviously his strategy so far has been working. He's kind of bottlenecked Darkseid to one particular location, not given them the opportunity to activate a lot of extra force. They both have kind of been stuck at 10 for a while, and I guess both their character pools kind of cost about the same, but Lightside probably has a few cheaper characters, a few more Padmes and Jar Jars and whatnot that would push them over the edge and give them the advantage. Solo and kind of guys like that. So Aeneas clearly had a strategy where he really wanted to just lock it down, and they would just contest as one battleground all game, which is all they've done for 7 turns. And I guess he didn't want to give his opponent anywhere else to go either, which is a reasonable line approach to take. So. Well, that also requires you to find a Luke too, Lenny. Can't just put the battle planes out with like EPP Ray and be like, all right, she's gonna hold that site down too. It's like, no, she's probably gonna get run over herself. But and again, you also play with Wend, so you again you're probably a lot more familiar with his deck building style than Nick might be. But no duels so far though, which is disappointing. I was really hoping that the reason everybody was so excited and we're like, you got to review this game. It was awesome. I'm like, it's a great game. These guys are slugging it out, and that's fantastic. I was really hoping we were going to see a duel. Give the people what they want. Duel, duel, duel. There's nobody to duel, though. I'm your father. Hits Padme. See, that's like domestic abuse right there. Slapping your wife around and then making her cause extra force loss. And, Padme is going to be hashtag me too in that attack later. No retrieval available. No force left. Vader's game text was canceled, so he is not immune. So again, everybody dies. And then we're going to take another Visage Ping, and, you know, Visage could be the card that just ends up deciding the game. We may never see a Force Drain this entire game, because by the time, you know, somebody gets a guy in a position they could actually Force Drain, they may not have 3 Force left to pay for it with Battle Plan. Activate all 7. Oh, before he occupies with Coward, Aeneas will wisely use Wackling and retrieve a Force, which he does not have to pay for because there's no secret plans out. Grand Admiral Thrawn V. So now we're just down to scraping the bottom of the barrel for whatever characters either side might have left. Cancels an Admiral's Order, doesn't really come into play. Rebel just moved, you can follow, doesn't really come into play. So he's just a guy with 4 ability. And 4 power. Wow, they gave him a power bump too. I forgot about that. I feel like regular Thrawn's only like 2 power, isn't he? This is like a football game where nobody punts. Yeah, that's exactly what this game is like. Both guys are just going up and down the field at, you know, at will here. Eight to 4. Thrawn's gonna get hit. This could be the grand finale here, because that's gonna hit Thrawn and make him forfeit 0. And Lightside's already ahead by 4 power. Darkside was gonna lose the battle, most likely, because I'm assuming Lightside's got nothing left at this point but High Destiny. Lightside's going to lose the battle, or Lightside's going to win the battle, and stack another card, and cause the remaining sufficient overflow to win the game. And there's a 6, so that's 14 total. So unless Thrawn draws a 10, that's a 5. So it's going to be Thrawn in 5, and that should be all she wrote. So certainly an entertaining game. Not quite what we were expecting to see. Really weren't any opportunities to duel or whatnot, and Wend goes ahead and concedes. Out of characters, out of life force. Certainly an interesting matchup. Thank you to Aeneas for sending me the game link, and to both guys for playing a very aggressive deck approach. It's refreshing to see once in a while. Sometimes we get some of these games to review, and it's more of the chess match where the guys are positioning and moving and jockeying for position, which is great fundamentally, but it's like watching a UFC fight where 2 guys just hold each other against the cage for 15 minutes. Sometimes you want to just see guys go in there and just, throw some haymakers and slug it out. Doesn't always work out so well, but for one of them, but it's entertaining to watch. Now, I think you're okay. Spoiler alerting season 4 of Game of Thrones. It's usually within like the most recent season. You have to be careful. People may not have watched all of it yet, but when you're doing like, hey, you remember 3 years ago this thing that happened? I think you're okay there, Lenny. So there was our game review for the week. Certainly didn't get a chance to see the dueling mechanic like we had hoped. We did get to see some other cards being used, that ones we don't necessarily see as often, which was fun. And obviously, 2 guys just playing a very aggressive deck style. Let's pop back over to the old GEMP lobby, see if there's anything going on. So we've got a few games going on here, a few casual games between a lot of people, some of whom should be in this chat watching. But we also do have an OCS match. Oh, there's one game up here waiting to be played. We'll see who that would be. But then we've got Mr. from Mars and DJK. DJK, one of our advocates, who also happens to float in our chat, maybe in here. We're going to pop into this game real quick. and see what's going on here. He's playing Ral Ops. He's flipped, which is good, and he's on a pretty decent situation here with the Emperor and the Shuttle, taking on the Falcon. It looks like he just drew a whole bunch of Destiny and is looking at 12 battle damage or 12 attrition. That's probably going to clear this Falcon here, and that should give him significant board position. We'll see how long he can hold that for, and what tricks Mr. from Mars may have up his sleeve. But we did apparently Boshek V was on the table. Deploy cost may not be increased, so he fits nicely into Watch Your Step. During battle, use a force. Subtract one from opponent's just drawn Destiny, or cancel an attempt to cancel and redraw a Destiny. So he can spend a force to basically cancel Sith Fury, cancel Tarkin, redrawn, cancel Imperial Domination, redrawn. Pretty handy character. 3/4, good, decent deploy forfeit. Still Destiny 1, which is always, something to keep an eye on or be concerned about. But he's a good space pilot and a nice little fit into a variety of decks. Now, Dorsch, I haven't looked at your review yet. Obviously that might be a potential game for next week or the week after. So I get a number of game review requests each week, and we try and keep the show to a reasonable time length, and I don't want to run too long. And most games usually take about 30 to 40 minutes to review, so I don't want to run over and have it like a 2-hour show where I review like 3 games in a night. I may do that once in a while as like a special occasion when I'm trying to get caught up on things, but I know you guys are busy people. You all have to get back to your regular lives, so don't want to take up too much of your free evenings. Put your kids to bed, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, this is the Maryland, Virginia, DC play group being featured tonight. We're going to get Xanth in the game next, hopefully, and see what shenanigans he's got going on. So Mr. from Mars, way ahead on life force counts, 27, 30, 41 versus 26. He's got a 15-card lead, but way behind on board position, so I expect that 15-card lead to start evaporating fairly quickly. If you were Thief or Scout present, force drain +1 here. Well, you got Scout Jedi Luke there, so now that's a drain for 2. That's interesting. And since Raltier is not allowed to modify drains on their own planet, it's part of the objective. Opponent's force drains are -1 at non-Raltier locations. They can't modify this one here with the objective. You've got a loaded shuttle right here. I would anticipate this is going to move out to Fondor, get to a battleground system, so then you can start doing all these drains for free. With K2SO already on the ground, Lightside does not have another spy pilot that they could deploy aboard this Falcon, so they'd have to deploy somewhere else and then move over. And in the meantime, they could continue to just do some ping damages on the ground and not have to pay for it in space and start to try and catch up in this game. Go back to the lobby real quick, see if there's anything else going on. Nope, nobody has picked up that other game yet. looks like light side's just going to throw some guys in the cantina uh, and get themselves flipped back to the 7 side of their objective. Doesn't really have any effect on dark side's activation, though, because these are all battlegrounds and whatnot. But, you know, Ralops is a pretty decent dark side deck. I don't think it's, you know, the top of the the food chain there, but it's certainly a very competitive dark side deck, and one that'll keep certain light side decks honest. I think it came back at a good power level so far. It's not like it's running away, dominating everything. And then I suspect we'll see Mr. from Mars. I'll move Laszlomi over. Mirax and then will get into the Pulsar Skate and take off to the system, so then he will not have to pay for battle order either. He just had to do this a little weird because you have to have smugglers at 2 locations to flip. Oh, and it looks like someone did pick up that game. That was Jeff Skills' Dark Side game with his map deck. He'll be taking on Hutch, who's playing QMC. Hutch has played quite a few of his games already, I believe. But I don't think Jeff's played 9 of his games already, and Hutch should be in here as well, playing a number of his. Where did he go? Why am I not seeing him? Well, this is game number 10 for Mr. from Mars. There's Hutch down here. Okay, so Hutch is 0-4. And Jeff Skills is 2-7. So those guys should have a good time playing against each other. You're trying shift click, right? Right, Lenny? Shift click on the screen? Yeah. DJK is going to pay to do some force draining this turn. We saw Mr. from Mars pick up Kessel earlier, but without having a way to get a ship and stuff there with the way he had it to flip, decided not to put that down. I would expect to see that come out next turn, and then the Pulsar Skate to possibly move over there, or the Outrider, if we haven't seen that yet, hit the table. It may have been lost earlier, but there's only 7 cards in his lost pile, so it's likely he still has that Dash Outrider combo available to him. QMC versus map. QMC versus Map. I would think QMC is favored in that matchup because their drains can't be canceled by strategic reserves. Obviously, they've got a number of ships and things like that and ways to hold the system against the finalizer, whether it's Home One Akbar and Profundity and other possible ships, Spiral, Harksef, that whole thing could certainly see them holding on to the system for a while, possibly even setting up Celebration and retrieving some cards, and then the ability to avoid a battle or two on the ground with, It's a Trap or Blast the Door Kid or whatever. And then just kind of keep moving away from Darkside for a little while. I feel like that's going to be a longer kind of game, unless one of them gets their space completely annihilated. So he's going to put the Emperor's Reach piloting now. That way they can't cancel their substitute Battle Destiny draws, so there's no all wings combo going on there. So we've got Emperor and we've got Tarkin, and this is Emperor Foreseer. Interesting. That would explain why he's got more cards in his lost pile. He's probably been, at least at earlier turns, possibly milling cards to fill up his hand. That's an interesting approach. Don't usually Yeah, Lenny, obviously there's certain variations in the two decks that could skew things a little bit, depending on which versions of each deck that are being played. That would change the outcome of the matchup, but on its face value, you would expect to see QMC probably win more than Map if they played 100 games. Darkside's going to do a little shuffling around. So now we've got Veers and Blizzard Scout 1 together. So they can cancel a character's game text during battle. So you'd most likely cancel Luke's text because K2SO here, he's only forfeit 4. And he only adds to attrition when he's with Cassian. So you cancel Luke's game text, take him down 2 power, cancel Luke's immunity, and then get to draw 2 Battle Destiny. But on the other side of things, Luke plus Like My Father could easily draw above 5, draw 5, make it a 6, which would mean you're then losing the Blizzard Scout and Veers. Of course, Darkside could be having close calls and stuff like that to use as well. So if you're light side, I don't know that you want to battle in this situation on the ground. I think obviously you're ahead on life force totals right now. You'd want to get to that drain at Kessel if you can. On the other hand, he did just pick up a control tunnel vision, and he's got 20 cards in his force pile to choose from. So you could get, a Lando and a Chewie with Bowcaster and just go to town shooting everything. Getting multiple destinies for having smugglers and whatnot, but he only has 3 force available, so that also may not work. Yeah, obviously the retrieval engine in QMC is problematic, and if you can't keep the agent on the table to keep them flipped, or if they don't run BB-8 to retrieve even when the agent's not on the table, stash BB-8 at the 1-0 or something. I don't think he has to be at a battleground I think it just has to be on table to enable light side to retrieve. So We'll pop into that game for just a second here, just take a peek at what the board looks like. There's another OCS game that just popped up, so certainly plenty of opportunities for everybody to Belden's Eye, Keeping the Empire, Walkling, Alert My Star Destroyer. So he's playing the alert version, which makes me think that I'm not really going to see any blasters. We'll see a Thrawn Conquest. Might be a floating blaster or two, but probably not. Let's hop back over to our feature table. And now he's checking his reserve deck over here. So he took a little while in the control tunnel vision, and then took a little bit longer to check his destinies and things like that. Now he's trying to do the math and figure out where to go and what to do. Do have to be careful, of course, of that 5-minute action timer. You can disable that at the start of the game. You know, go into options and you click it, and then if your opponent agrees, they click that as well, and that turns off that 5-minute action timer, so you don't accidentally time out. Many of us have been making requests, hoping that some type of little warning will be added, just to let people know, like, hey, you've been inactive for 4 minutes. If you don't do something in the next minute, you're going to lose the game. All right, and this is a play I could definitely have seen coming. He controlled tunnel vision out of 20 cards, found one that he really liked, and now he's going to take his first action playing an interrupt from his lost pile with his objective here, and he'll go get a second card to go with it. So he certainly could go get another character, drop 2 or 3 characters, and do some serious damage here. I don't know that like Outrider or anything like that is going to have much success against a shuttle. It's completely immune. It's got decent power. It's going to get 3 destiny draws. You're adding what to the total? 4? Number of route tier locations your Imperials occupy. So you're adding 3 to the total. So even if you draw a 9, it then becomes 12. So, and he does still have a card available stacked on Justice that he could pick up as well, if necessary. And Marek prevents all wings from getting around it. So this is not going to be easy to work around. So it's going to be more of a ground situation. And with this thing reacting, I mean, you could go after Thrawn, you could go after these guys. It's tough choices. Alright, he did get Hark Overseer out. There's a little... When you're using Belden's Eye, there's a goofy little glitch like that because you're deploying cards from hand and or Life Force. When you open up your reserve deck to look at it, it also adds the cards from your hand along the top. So you're like, I want to deploy. Wait, what's going on here? Where are all these extra cards? And that's supposed to be in my hand. It's like it's combining the two together because of the way this is worded. Because you're deploying cards simultaneously from your hand and or reserve deck. So it kind of makes your hand and your reserve deck look like they're all one big pile, which throws some people off a little bit when they're looking at it. All right. To flip him back, he'd have to control 2 route tier locations. And I don't know that he's going to be able to do that. He can control that one. Oh, if he's got enough guys, he can kill Thrawn, and then he can shuffle some people around and flip Ral Ops back. There you go. Now the $1 million question. Where to battle? Oh, he gets barriered. Does he have a canceller for it? Well, we've seen a close call over here on the grabber already too, so that certainly also changes things. Clicked the wrong button trying to figure out where to put projection and deployed it to the table. And we'll see some good sportsmanship here from DJK, letting him revert that mistake, because you, unless you're playing the hollow table, you don't want to deploy this on the table. There's no reason to. It doesn't do anything other than add to drains at hollow sites. So just a goofy little misstep there. We get the same. It looks like he reverted too far. So we get the same Theranet. We get the same barrier. And he's going to block down that drain there. This will be the weird thing, because if he battles Thrawn, they can react to Blizzard Scout 1 over, but then you risk giving up Veers, which I don't think most people would want to do. Oh, he does move back to the system instead. And he'll use that to flip it back to the 0 side. And he put the projection on that site, so you'd have to imagine he's going to move Luke that way and maybe K2SO the other way to back up Melas. And that should make it really hard for Darkseid to be able to flip again. Oh. Leaving Melas by himself. Do we smell a dodge? Imperials have to control 3 route tier locations and opponent control none. It's going to be hard to control 3 against this pile. I mean, and then control none, because you got to move this back to clear out the system or have another ship to get through it. Plus then you got to get through the Falcon's 7 forfeit and stuff as well. So certainly an interesting game. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap up the show here, because these guys are going to be playing for another 15-20 minutes, and I don't want to run things too long tonight. You guys are feel free to, stick around and watch it if you like. But thank you guys very much for watching this evening's show and participating in the chat. I certainly had a lot of fun, and we'll see you back next week to look at some more games. Again, if you're not following the PC, click the little purple heart. And if you are a Twitch Prime member, remember you do get a monthly subscription that you do have to renew each month. So please don't forget to subscribe to the Twitch channel as well. And then down below you'll see links to my personal pages and Wise Marcellus's page, who also do game streams and stuff. And we appreciate the follows on our own personal pages as well. But you guys have a great night, and we'll catch up with you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. You guys have a good night.